Welcome to Roguecast, the official podcast of Rogues Gallery. We'll talk comics for the week, as well as whatever news is on our pop cultural radar. I'm Randy.
I'm Nick. This is Dave.
And now, on with the show.
Hello and welcome to Roguecast. It's time for the Marvel Snap update.
People are just going to start turning this off.
No, people like Marvel Snap. It's very popular.
Among our audience?
I don't know.
But they should play. It's fun.
People should play Marvel Snap.
Become addicts. Like
I don't know. That's what we talk about every day. Like we're always talking about the variants we're getting, and we've been playing the mode that they just finished up.
You know how we used to talk about the weather? We now talk about Marvel Snap.
Yeah, wow.
This is our weather.
Such a good podcast.
Yeah.
I got hosed by my variants today. They have some pixel art ones, which are like the bane of our existence.
Yes.
They look like old retro video game style, but like, honestly, if there was a little animation to them or something like that, that would make it worth it. But instead, they just look super mediocre compared to the, like, if you imagine like cool modern cover variant art, that's the kind of art that you can get for your cards in the game.
Yep.
And if somebody said, well, what if you could have something that looked like Minecraft? You'd probably be like, well, go F yourself.
But you know what, Dave? This is where we break with Marvel Snap literati. Mm-hmm. We all love Dan Hipp.
It's true.
And some people feel that way about Dan Hipp. They're like, what's this cartoony crap? I want an Alex Ross looking thing.
I guess what I'd say is people do get to, you can choose to refine your deck how you will.
There's probably some people who like the variants. I've seen the pixel variants.
I've run into it.
Last night I battled a person that had exclusively pixel variants.
I don't like the pixel variants either.
I assume that they're just trolling me.
Sure. But in the Marvel Snap art book, which they did.
Right, this is a physical copy art book.
You can see that the pixel variants like make a picture like together.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, that's kind of cool if they connect. But that you don't get that from having the.
Is it like a Contra or a Donkey Kong?
Yeah, kind of like that kind of thing. Yeah,
okay,
yeah. And like that looks cool.
I know that I think we mentioned this before, but like the ones that you have like a few dozen little mini albums you can keep as like a little fun side project.
Yep.
That actually, as you fill them out with different variants, you'll get some stuff. So like today, I did decide to use some of my points to buy the Disco She-Hulk.
Nice.
One, which is very cool.
The Disco variants are really cool.
And that earned me the emote of Dazzler listening to her headphones, kind of looking chill and above it all.
Yep.
I'm not quite sure what I'll use that, like if I lose a match, but I'm like, whatever.
Dave, you like the emotes more than any of us. I think you really dig the emotes.
I do like the emotes. They're also so rare. Like, you've been playing for years, Randy, so you've built up a decent
I got like
amount of them.
maybe total.
But I was just starting with like the original like basic 3 or 4 or whatever it is. And I like my Grumpy Rocket Raccoon one.
Did you get the collector one from the...
No. What was that from?
It's from the Sanctum
the Sanctum
game.
one.
Oh, I think it's like I may end up having enough for it, I may not.
Yeah.
Because
I'm getting my butt handed to me in Sanctum right now.
Sanctum is the current mode we're all digging. It's except for Nick.
I enjoyed it. I've gotten like several things out of it. The stuff I wanted. I got the new card and I got the Peach Momoko Doctor Strange.
I think I got that one too,
which is a gorgeous piece of art.
It is great.
I will say they could do another hardcover volume of this art and I would buy it because there's a lot of good art going into this game.
I imagine there's like thousands of variants out there.
Oh, sure,
It's just like it's crazy.
Yeah, you'd have to very much prune it to favorites and stuff.
Yeah.
The new format, knowing that you might not know the exact rules, there's essentially you're always looking to control 3 lanes with your cards. And in the new format, they're kind of like magical locations, and that's the magical themes and magical prizes. It's like, they also just released Dormammu as a card and stuff like that.
Clea.
But yeah, this one differs from the main game in that a semi kind of random lane becomes the key lane of that turn.
Yep.
And it has
it's like King of the Hill style.
Yeah, you have to take that one to get a little mass of points. So you can't necessarily be playing the long game version of that you might be playing with your regular deck. You often have to be able to react almost immediately to these, which just makes for different strategies. It's fun.
By the way, I'm going to throw out a possible challenge for us for next week. Mm-hmm. The New York Times did their list of 100 best movies of the century so far, the last 25 years, and they got like 500 directors, writers, artists, all these kind of people to like give them their top 10.
Yeah,
and they use that to build the top 100. And it's fascinating. You can go on the New York Times site. You have to sign in, but you don't have to pay for it. And you can click through through the list where they have a write-up on each one and who recommended it.
And you can fill out how many have you seen.
How many have
right?
you seen and how many you want to see.
Oh,
and then you get a little graph you can still. So I've seen 42 of the top 100.
Okay.
And of the others, there are 5 that I want to see.
No, it's pretty solid.
I'll have to do this because I'm curious.
I think this would be a fun thing to discuss if we have time next week, like what our top 10 would be of the year, that kind of thing. So that's another challenge that's been going around the internet, and we're all movie people.
True.
So maybe we'll do that maybe next week, depending.
Yeah.
We never have enough time to talk these days.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this, but work is busy.
Yeah. Summer is a busy time.
Summer is a busy time. We have more orders, we have more people, so
we're slower because of the heat.
and we are in torpor.
We're in a state of torpor.
Except for me, I am excited and energized by the heat.
Randy is running around like Benny Hill.
I am.
Which was a raunchy English comic for you children out there.
Benny Hill if he were a lizard. If he were from Earth Alligator.
You know, he could have been part of the Illuminati. He could be a lizard man.
It's 100% true. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the events that we got going on. The rating challenge continues through August. Still plenty of time. Help us contribute to breaking our record of numbers of people. We had one turned in today.
Yep.
We definitely had more this year than the last 2, so we want to keep that momentum going.
It's always exciting to see how excited the kids can be for this.
Yeah.
And also, really, you want to come in ideally on a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, or Friday to get Serena, because she is going to be the most excited to see all this.
Right.
Like she's looking through all the packets. She will give your kid the best experience. None of us are going to bite your kid's head off.
No.
But
I don't think we're even going to come close to that.
No, we might. You never know. But Serena is like, this is her baby, and she will get you the whole experience when you bring it in. She will look at everything and read the reports, ask what your favorite one is.
So you might be like, these are the 5 you picked?
Yes.
That's what you're going to go with?
I like to make sure the children know that I'm disappointed in them.
This is the other side of Rogue Shaw.
No, I'm just saying, all of us are going to be, that's
true.
great. But Serena will look at the package.
It's like it's her baby.
She built this thing.
It's her baby.
She built the fucking thing. She did build the fucking thing.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's true.
Next week, we have All Ages Awesomeness coming back. Andy Rutten is our guest from out of town, and he is the guy who did the comic Owly.
Yep.
And we just got a super cool piece of art. He did a custom owlbear Owly with the Owly creatures on top of him.
The gang of his little forest friends are all playing on top of the owlbear.
So you can see that in our event listing on Facebook, on our website, or if you come in store, you'll see it on the sign. Also, we will have free stickers featuring that art by the time All Ages rolls around.
Nice.
Yeah. T-Fest is coming up in August. I don't have the exact date, but I'll get it next week. That is the new board game and role-playing game convention happening here in Round Rock. We are going to be sponsors, so we will have a booth and probably be selling board games and RPGs and that kind of stuff. So plan to come out and do some gaming.
What day?
I don't know exactly. It's in
okay.
August.
We'll pin it down.
I'll find it next week.
We'll pin it down.
You got a month. The Star Wars Unlimited Legends of the Force set is coming out this Thursday. It's pre-release.
Yep.
We will have a pre-release at Third Level Brewing. We have not much to do with that. We're just sort of supplying them. They're putting it together, so you can go find out from them about that. But I know you can buy a pre-release pack from us starting Thursday or Friday, depending on our shipping.
Right.
And hopefully we'll have it. We may have it up to Friday. And go and play in the event if you would like. There are prizes and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
This set looks cool. It's got the key art has the Force Witch of Dathomir, Ahsoka, that guy Balin
Skull,
and Savage, and Yoda. Okay. So it seems like Force Witch of Dathomir, some of the stuff from Ahsoka, that kind of stuff.
Okay, that sounds cool.
So that'll all be on sale starting on Thursday. As for games that came in this week,
I want a deck that's all Gonk droids and Banthas.
I wanted to have the female Yoda. What's her name? Yaddle.
She's in one of the comics.
She's in the comic
Randy.
this week. That's why I know. That's why I was more close.
Learn your Yaddle.
We got a game that I've been looking forward to called Dark Quarter. It is a game by Van Ryder Games and Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck are the publishers of things like Flamecraft. That's a big one. But they've
that's pretty big.
The dungeon. What's the Paper App Dungeon?
Yep.
Yeah.
They do a lot of games. Van Ryder does Final Girl, the super popular solo girl.
Yep.
This is a supernatural detective set in 1981 New Orleans.
That sounds like an awesome
You're
premise.
telling me it's a little mature.
It is 18 and up. Like, they curse. The first case is about a gruesome murder. But what's interesting is you play.
Sorry, wait, what is this?
It's
a
Dark
game?
Quarter is a board game.
Okay.
It's a digital hybrid, so you have an iPad app that gives you a story.
Okay.
So what you're doing
you
is
said like first chapter or something like that, and that threw me off.
Yeah. It's a not a legacy, but like a campaign game.
Okay, very cool.
So it's a co-op, and you're playing in. You got this board that represents New Orleans, and then the app will tell you when to put little locations down, and you play one of 4 characters. There's 4 people in it, and in addition to the central story, which the first one was like a murder, like a ritualistic murder that happened in a park. Each story also ties into the character, like the character has their side story that will play into it. So one of them was a drunk ex-detective, and when he drinks, he sees ghosts. So he could drink and then he'd talk to the ghost of the person who was killed.
Oh, that's cool.
And then he had to go to a bar to refill his alcohol and that kind of stuff. The guy I was playing,
teaching some good lessons.
The guy I was playing was a former detective whose wife was brutally murdered.
Okay.
In the same way that this murder happened, so he's like kind of investigating his wife's murder in the same way. One of the other characters, what they call a casket girl, which are vampires.
Okay.
But the casket girl, there seems to be there's something called the convent, which is like apparently an organization of casket girls.
Oh, that's cool.
Vampires and that kind of thing. And she winds up getting drawn back into her old lifestyle that she used to, because we all work for like this Beaumont detective agency, but they all have their own past, and there's one who's like got supernatural stuff, and she winds up going back to talk to her like adoptive mother and mystic mentor, and all of this is tied, is like circling around the main story, where there's also like an evil corporation that's somehow involved in it, that like one of their bruisers comes after you. Like it's a really deep story.
What is the gameplay?
You go and you have dice that you use to do tests.
Okay.
Like magic test or a
because there is a certain narrative structure to things like when I played the Arkham Horror deck building game.
Yeah.
That had like narrative prompts and cards you would reveal that would have like sort of story turns. Now it was kind of limited within that. This sounds like a little bit more narratively focused.
It does. I think the storytelling is a big part of it, and there's an expansion. So once you finish the main game, there's a expansion of more story, and also the product is gorgeous. It comes with some miniatures. You have all the NPCs are little circular. Tokens that have numbers, so when you'll tell you to pull a token, you put a person on the board. I played, I would say, 3 chapters of it, I think, and every time you get to the end of a chapter, you can add experience to your character and change abilities, and then you can choose to either go on or save, so you don't have to play it all in one night or anything.
Nice.
Super fun. Really recommend it. I've been looking forward to it.
Say the name one more time.
Dark Quarter.
Dark Quarter.
Yeah, as in the French Quarter.
Yeah.
And dark as in dark.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We got a game called Shackleton Base. This was from Pandasaurus Games, who they've done a bunch of things.
Yeah.
They're another one of the big ones. This is a journey to the moon. You build structures on the moon base and source funding for your corporation.
Okay.
So you're playing rival space agencies and building a base on the Shackleton crater at the moon's south pole. Sounds like fun. You take shuttles, you do actions, you send up astronauts and resources. It's worker placement.
Nice.
Fun theme, fun game.
Yeah, just knowing how how much people have like terraforming Mars and things like that. I'm sure this is not that close to it, but it's a little conceptually similar, and that sounds like a cool new take on it.
We got a restock on Tales of Arthurian Knights, which is the Arthurian the sequel to Tales of Arabian Nights.
Yeah.
This has been out a long time.
I didn't see that came back.
Yep.
That's something I might have to look into.
And then we got a bunch of new stuff coming in as you listen to this podcast, as long as you listen to it on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. It's coming on Wednesday.
Yep.
There are D&D Masterworks dice towers and dice trays. These are dice towers and dice trays that use like classic art. There's some Larry Elmore art in there, Clyde Caldwell, some of the classic like Dragon magazine of the 80s.
Yeah. There's obviously great art is kind of standard now.
Yeah.
But when those guys hit in the 80s, it was not.
Yeah.
You had I have a lot of nostalgia for, the kind of what always looked like high school metalhead art.
Yeah.
But it was cool. But when Larry Elmore and those guys came on the scene, I felt it was like the first time D&D art got great.
Yeah.
And so they're using those on the dice trays and stuff. That's very cool.
Pretty cool. We also, I guess it's worth noting, we got the Pride dice trays in from Foam Brain.
Oh, cool.
The different Pride identities, and we also got their class-based ones like Bard, Cleric, all the ones they use their dice, their dice bags. We got some Pathfinder stuff coming up. There's a new adventure path called Myth Speaker. There is a book called Gatewalkers that is a complete campaign for levels 1 to 10. So this might have been a adventure path that they put into one big hardcover.
Okay.
But so here's the premise. That is interesting. It's called Gatewalkers, which is a cool name.
Yeah.
It is?
Although I want to know what the what'd you say, Myth Speaker?
Myth Speaker.
Okay, I'll look into it.
It says, on the night of the missing moment, thousands step through portals across Galarian, that's their world, seemingly against their will. When they returned, these so-called Gatewalkers possess strange paranormal powers, but no memory of where they'd gone.
Yep.
Can the heroes unravel the mystery of the missing moment before the source of their newfound power consumes them? So it's kind of like, what was that, the 4400?
Yeah.
But in Pathfinder?
Yeah, that's a good elevator pitch. I like it.
It's a fun pitch. They do good adventures. Mm-hmm. We got a game called The Wandering Tavern, which is it says it's a floating TTRPG setting. And it's got like a floating city on the cover. It's got sort of Miyazaki. It's Studio Ghibli inspired. It was on a Kickstarter, and now it is out. There's like Zephyrs and airships. It says hotels. There's island-sized. It's just an island-sized airship, and I believe it is system neutral. It has some stats and stuff, but I think it is can be used with different games.
Okay.
But the art looks really good. It looks like a really cool idea.
What was the name of that one again?
It's called The Wandering Tavern.
Wandering Tavern. Okay, cool.
We got a new Vampire the Masquerade called In Memoriam, which is this is about the elder vampires.
Okay.
So who have seized power, I guess, from the true elders.
A grampire.
A grampire, if you will. We got their Hunter the Reckoning, which is called Apostates, which is people who were in the Special Affairs Division, worked in a Monster X franchise, apparently.
Yep.
Consulted for the Arcanum, tempted at revenge, or volunteered for the Society of St. Leopold. Basically, you all worked for different organizations. These are all people who have left the organizations and are now doing their hunting freelance. So a little more like Supernatural. It's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know if you haven't been keeping up with White Wolf though these many years.
Yep.
That they're known for like some of the best spooky RPG lore that there is out there.
Yep.
And so like honestly, in addition to like if you've got the game you should play it, but if you just want to read up on some cool lore that's like sort of dark urban horror stuff, like these are the guys.
For sure. There is Renegade has 2 board games as well. One is called Scara Bray.
Okay.
And you'll note from the art, it's pretty easy to say. It is about a story of northern Scotland, the Orkney Islands from about 5,000 years ago, and it's farmers like building a civilization there. And so it is a resource management and card drafting, a game of building an establishment on the Scottish Islands.
That sounds cool.
And then they also put out The Anarchy, which is a board game where you are playing. It's at the end of 1135 when Henry I has died, and I believe
one of my favorite time periods.
You take on the role of English nobles loyal to King Stephen as people try to determine who's going to be the king.
King Stephen was really good.
Yeah, he's great. I love King Stephen. He writes good novels.
It's interesting to me, and I always wonder what the exact process is for game designers. Do they start working up concepts from like a pitch, like a high concept with birds or with something historical or whatever the theme is, and then they like come up with the mechanics, or do they have some mechanics they've been playing around with and they're like, oh, you know what, this would really fit the island of Orkney, in 1135.
I think it's probably that first thing, because that second thing sounds insane.
It sounds insane.
But game designers are weird, and you never know.
You could maybe like start, and maybe they like would say, oh, well, I can use the mechanics I've got, but I'll push and pull it a little bit to fit the theme.
Well, this is what I was talking about. I played Heat with a couple friends of ours, Heather and Scott, who I've not played games with in a while. I'll play games with them this weekend.
Yep.
Introduced them to Heat, the push your luck driving game. Yep. And after we talked about it, we say the same question of like, do you think they were like, let's do a racing game, and then they built the mechanics around it? Or did they think, oh, I've got this idea for sort of push your luck mechanic, and what theme will work with it, what makes it interesting?
Yeah. When the games are very abstract, that makes it like it feels like it'd be easier to do. When they're kind of specific, like a Formula One racing game.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did they do that?
I feel like, Dave, I have definitely seen great games with bad themes.
Yeah.
Or not bad themes, but like they're not immediately like, oh, this is you're a space captain on a ship. It's something weird like building a 17th century French village.
Right. Carcassonne is that what you're referring to? Yeah.
Yep.
Is not a cool sounding game, but it is one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
Just very approachable.
So I think if your game mechanics are good, the theme is almost not as important. But
that's true.
A good theme cannot survive bad mechanics.
Right. Yeah. And we've seen like Dune is like one of those games, Dune Imperium.
Yeah.
With a like highly focused theme. What would often be the Ameritrash.
Yes.
As they would say in the old days of just like luck-based theme games, but it is not luck-based. It is a highly skill-based game. Yep. I know because I won it.
Which I wrote.
But no, it's impressive when they can pull off both of those things. But yeah, like you don't actually... This is something that I think kind of like... I didn't get that certainly as a team.
Yeah.
I wanted the games with the cool themes. But like the truth is, like some of the very best games have themes that don't immediately jump.
It's true. I will say that if you can get a good theme and a good game... It's like it sticks. Like I was thinking about putting together my top 10 game list. I like to do lists.
Yeah,
but like my current favorites, I think among them is like Let's Go to Japan, which is both a great game and a great theme.
Mm-hmm.
Thunder Road Vendetta, which is a great game and a great theme.
Right.
Heat. Like most of the games I like the theme and the game.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you can combine,
but you would. I don't think you would say you're not like a big Formula One guy.
No, I'm not. It's just it's a fun thing.
But racing is a cool idea. Yeah. Everybody likes racing.
Everybody?
Not everybody.
Dave, what I was laughing at earlier when you started talking was you said like birds, and I had this idea, this pitch meeting idea of a guy coming in. I don't know, something with birds. Yada yada yada, something with birds. All right, let's talk about comics for the week because it actually is a really good. It's the first week, which usually brings in some stuff. I think Nick and I in particular were pretty happy with this week.
Yeah, I thought it was a great week.
I like the week as well, but I just haven't had time to read as much. So who knows? I could be where you are. I might be more discerning and be like, it's okay.
Although I will say, this week is the first week we haven't had to put trades on the separate table for a little while,
which is nice.
It is still a big week, but not as big.
Well, like we can have big weeks as far as like there's lots of sort of notable comics that hit, but there's just not as many of them,
or not as many variants. Right. We do try to cut down on the variants.
Really?
Can we start
for real. I promise.
Can we start with the book that I think everyone should pick up?
That we all loved. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is Captain America #1 by Canadian Chip Zdarsky.
Yep.
And Valerio Schiti.
Yeah.
I am a huge Cap fan. I have a Cap tattoo.
It's true, you do.
He is one of my favorite characters. But I don't know that I've loved a Cap book as much as I love this first issue. Like, since Brubaker, I don't think I've been as into Cap as this.
When was Brubaker?
It was like 20 or 30 years ago. God. No, it was when we first bought Rogue, so it was like 18 years ago.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's enough time for them to have launched the Marvel the MCU, gotten to an adaptation of it, and gotten well past it.
Actually, that was Cap 25, so he'd already been writing it for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
So it has been almost 20 years since the Winter Soldier run.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And there have been some solid runs.
Solid runs since then. But I think
Spencer's
I liked his Sam Wilson run quite a bit, yeah. But this take on Captain America, I was skeptical when I heard the pitch. But as it turns out, I really like this.
And the pitch is pretty unique.
Yeah.
When y'all want to sum it up?
Yeah. So basically, this is taking place post 9/11 by maybe a few years, I would guess. Dave was talking about the sliding timeline of Marvel, that it's always like the heroic age started 10 years ago, no matter what today's year is.
Right.
So this is placed at about 2015.
Right.
And we were watching the story of a young boy who sort of saw 9/11. And it was his moment of like, I want to help. The same way World War II was for
like it'd be like his Pearl Harbor.
It was his Pearl Harbor, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he like Steve Rogers is like a skinny guy. He's 4F. He's not able to do it, and they maybe find a way to maybe turn him into a super soldier. But that is a side story.
Yeah.
Because the story is Cap has been unfrozen for about a week.
Right.
And so he's come back to the modern world. And is trying to figure out.
So therefore, this is a flashback portion.
He's trying to figure out what to do Well, this is all seems to be a flashback. It all is taking place.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's all taking place in this 2015 period.
Right.
So he basically is like deciding whether to be an Avenger or to go back to the military because he's still a soldier.
Right.
He's
a very interestingly written Cap, more interesting than I've seen him in quite some time.
Yep.
There's a specific scene in here where he talks to another member of the Marvel Universe.
Yes,
that
this is great.
I think is one of the best scenes that I've read in a while.
But it seems like what Chip Zdarsky's going to do here is explore a couple things. One is, what does Cap feel like the modern world is like? Which has been done before, but I think this is going to be a little bit different. And what if a Captain America was created now instead of during World War II? I think those are both really interesting things to do.
Yep.
And
do we want to mention what his kind of mission is?
Who, the
Cap?
No, I think we should leave that.
Okay, because there is a really interesting mission hook, which I knew
yes.
about in advance. And
that is in the log line. I mean,
is it?
Yeah, who he's going after is in the pitch.
It involves Doctor Doom has just taken Latveria.
Yeah, and it looks like this is going to be a sort of politically nuanced look at the complications that come when somebody who is, I think you would say, not only unfriendly to America, but maybe unfriendly to the rest of the world, takes control of a country and what the repercussions are. And Cap is going to get caught up in that.
Also, there is a spectacular action sequence opening this thing.
Yeah,
it is.
A motorcycle chase. And even that goes in a direction I didn't expect.
I like that, by the way, that Cap's internal monologue there, which is like written, like in tight internal monologue. It's not one of these heavily narrated ones.
Yeah.
But he's like, this guy's been trained. He knows how to like fire from the motorcycle, and just those little touches. As he's doing his cool Cap stuff, but he's like making neat tactical observations throughout.
This is, and the art by Pashidi is fantastic, by the way.
Real very high energy kind of stuff. I mean, like his character, his sort of faces and all of that is really good, but it's one of those where the action sequences have a lot of energy.
I think what struck me about this is Zdarsky clearly gets Cap in the same way that I feel I like Cap, and also the book is about bigger things, about thematics and that kind of thing, but it's also just a good read.
Yeah.
And that's a tricky thing to pull off. We've seen a lot of people who can do sort of heady philosophical stuff, but not tell a story.
Right.
Or people who can tell sort of an action story, but not give you the deeper
We've seen
underpinnings.
Zdarsky do this, though. I mean, his early run of Daredevil, I mean, it kind of, in the latter years, went a little crazy.
Yeah.
For me, I know...
I liked it all the way to the end.
Right. But there was a lot of what you're talking about in those pages.
Yeah.
He is good at doing kind of that high concept... high execution while not forgetting about character.
I would also argue that although it had some of the execution was a little his Batman Catwoman War thing was a cool concept of whether Batman was kind of willing to lower the crime rate by doing some kind of outlaw stuff.
Yeah.
And it had that question that was percolating in the background.
There was definitely good stuff in his Batman run too. I think none of us sort of plugged into it,
right?
But it was well done.
It seemed a little more off, and I will say I feel like he's fitting more to Cap
for sure. If you need
really
to write Cap, you need to write Daredevil, you need to get a troll Applebee's. Zdarsky's your man.
And if you've never read a Cap comic, this is like the perfect thing.
Oh yeah, you could 100% come in on this.
This is just a good entry point to the character. If you have any interest or if you want to give something new a try.
Sometimes they relaunch a book and it's like, I don't know why they bothered to. Here there feels like it's an actual fresh new direction.
Agreed. We also have the second issue of Bring on the Bad Guys, which is, they're all one-shots.
Yep.
But this is a continuing story. This is the Green Goblin.
Yep.
And it sort of focuses on how Green Goblin was influenced by Mephisto, which is an interesting take.
Yeah.
And this is a creepy, scary Green Goblin.
Yeah, it's like
there's these weird POV shots of him where it's almost like it's weird. It's almost like found footage of him like creeping around in somebody's house and stuff.
It's like Norman Osborn serial killer.
Yeah, it's a little American Psycho. Actually,
it is.
Yeah,
it's weird. I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
Weirded out by Mephisto's influence, but
I mean, it kind of makes sense.
It does make sense.
Mephisto and Doom are the two big poles of this thing.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to sort of tie them in together.
I'm weirdly excited for the next issue, which is the Abomination issue. I want to see what they do with that.
So far, I think this Bring in the Bad Guys mini has been really good.
There is this disturbing scene where he is in somebody's house, and again, you're seeing it from his point of view, and he is picking his victim, and he's looking. They don't know he's in there, but he's pointing to the rooms, going eeny, meeny, miny, and I'm
There's
like,
a little bit
that's
of that
messed up.
Silence of the Lambs kind of stuff
For
too.
sure.
Yeah, it is really well done. Wolverines and Deadpools is a team up of Logan and Laura, his clone daughter.
Yep.
And Wade and Ellie, his daughter somehow.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with her, but I'm not familiar with
she's
a
been
lot
around
of
for a
it.
while.
The four of them team up because I forget what the threat is.
Well, I was told when I was writing up the sign for it that it was some classic X-Men villain.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's revealed in the first issue.
So there is another villain who I've seen in something else. It is a classic X-Men villain. It's revealed on the last page.
Is it Mesmero?
No.
Okay, that's my only guess.
It's not Mesmero.
Is it the Blob?
It's not Blob. Stop guessing. It's on the last page.
Eric the Red?
All right.
It was Eric the Red. He didn't say no.
It's true.
I stopped. You were going to guess it, Dave, and spoil it for everyone.
Yeah, it's true.
We have X-Men Hellfire Vigil. This is sort of the new take on the Hellfire Gala.
Yep.
Because since Krakoa is gone, they threw together a sort of a festival for mutants in the middle of Central Park where the last Krakoa tree exists.
Oh, right.
And it is a vigil for fallen Krakoa. And so they basically it's the creative teams of all the different X-Men books bringing their characters in and bringing them together, and in many cases for the first time in a while. So you've got the Extraordinary X-Men, you've got Phoenix, you've got X-Men Uncanny X-Men, and you've got Storm. You've got them all sort of connecting here together.
I kind of like this a lot because it is a snapshot. You get where all the characters are, what they're going through.
Yep.
I liked what they did with Scott. He remains McKay writes him really well.
Cyclops is really good. Yeah.
I really liked the Kamala Khan Miles Morales stuff at the beginning of it. There's a Colossus bit.
There is a Colossus bit on it quite a bit. Yep.
I thought
Colossus,
it was great.
I see Colossus and Magic in the same scene. That's
Yep.
interesting. I haven't seen them just hanging out as brother and sister in a little bit.
There's like a new romance for Temper, which I thought was
that was
really cool.
I like that.
So there's a weird thing with Dazzler that will have some ramifications later on, I'm sure.
She doing lines of coke again.
And my favorite X-Men gets a little sequence. So,
What?
Yeah, Banshee's in there.
He is.
He has a little moment, which is a little sad. It's bittersweet.
It is.
So yeah, I'm a fan of these. I like getting these giant snapshots of where the X-Men are and getting a little snippet of just normal life for them, or I mean, normal as I can ever be, honestly. But
it's not like based around some big action adventure sequence.
Right. There's no apocalypse or anything like that in this, but there is a threat, as always. A couple different threats.
Right. Yeah.
The latest, I think the last of the Godzilla versus Marvel one-shots, because Godzilla Destroys the Marvel Universe miniseries is up next.
Also, they saved the best for last. This is great.
This is
It was
really fun.
legitimately great.
So
I didn't read this one.
It's Jason Aaron and Aaron Cooter who did Thor.
Yes.
Oh, they brought back the team.
And not only that, Jason Aaron centers it around his Punisher run.
It's a Punisher run and his Thor run.
I mean, we can say this, Nick. It's in the second page,
Wait,
right?
Jason Aaron did a run on the Punisher?
Yeah, he did the one where he
did.
became the King of Killers. He
Where
was the head
worked
of the
for
hand.
Oh, that was Jason Aaron?
That was Jason Aaron.
Oh, I didn't realize that was him.
Nick and I both
forgot.
really liked that run.
It does.
Yeah.
It's really good.
All right, so you're gonna blab.
I'm gonna blab because they open it. It's the head of the hand. This creepy old woman.
She's
And if you
the
don't know, the
she's-
hand is
she's-
like
she's-
supernatural ninjas.
She's the priestess, and she murders a bunch of killers to bring Godzilla back to life as their beast.
Yeah.
So
That's the thing
Godzilla-
that the hand does. They make like thralls.
So Godzilla is out there being the hand's instrument of destruction, which calls Thor to come and defeat him.
That's pretty cool.
There's a lot of Thor continuity in here.
Yep.
Some neat little bits. They sort of epic finale to it. It's really good.
Really good action sequences. Aaron Cooter is a great artist, and he can draw the hell out of Thor. And as it turns out, Godzilla.
Yep.
But it's a really good read.
A lot of Thor artists get pretty good at drawing monsters. You know,
Yeah.
they draw a lot of trolls and dragons and things.
But I was surprised to see Jason Aaron on this.
Yeah.
It's an exciting
It's very
issue.
cool. I will definitely make a point to catch that.
We've got the Uncanny X-Men Prelude to a Future Past. This has reprints of the 2-part Days of Future Past story, which, by the way, it's crazy that that story that is so influential is really only 2 issues.
It is 2 issues long, yeah.
That starts with a prelude that
the first dark future the X-Men ever had.
True. There's a small prelude in this that was never been reprinted before. That was by Claremont and LaRocca.
Right. It was only in like a rare hardcover of Days of Future Past.
Isn't there Extreme X-Men outfit?
It was in that era. Yeah.
Okay.
If you great way to you could revisit the classic story and get a little bit of bonus material.
It is worth noting. One of our fellow retailers noted this. They screwed up the number.
What do you mean?
It is 104.5.
And
X-Men takes place in 140 and 141.
Oh, yeah.
So they screwed up the numbering.
Oopsie.
Oops. But, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Numbers doesn't matter anymore.
That's true.
Case in point, Marvel Zero. Marvel Zero is a reprint. It basically reprints the 4 Free Comic Book Day books. If you missed out on the chance to read the FF, the X-Men, the Amazing Spider-Man, or the Ultimate Spider-Man that was out on Free Comic Book Day, you can pick this copy up and get all of them. They're all good stories.
Yeah, I remember liking all the specials, so...
Yeah. We've got Gehenna #1. I forgot about this. I missed a chance to read it. This looks like a female action hero. I guess she's rescuing a kid. Looks like a big action book.
When if you read his afterword to it, and I was also poking around at some interviews and stuff,
Yep.
It seems like he's a guy who... He opens by reminiscing about some Punisher issue that left a mark on him as a kid, and he said it wasn't like... He's like, it was nobody's idea of a great comic.
Yeah.
It left an indelible mark on him. Something about like how it almost felt like an instruction manual for like... It was like he was doing like MacGyver-y stuff and things in there, and not like an instruction manual for murder. But
just every issue.
But he wanted to do a non-pretentious comic that was like kind of a throwback to the pulp action movies of like the 80s and 90s. What you might think of as like either Arnold Schwarzenegger movies or in the 90s, like, I don't know, John Woo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like a big gunplay action issue. So that's what it is.
Yeah. We got Sisterhood, a Hyde Street story, which is a story from Jeff Johns' horror book. It's not Jeff Johns writing it, though. I'm not sure he writes the other one either. But it's a spin-off from that book. And then we've got Gotham City Sirens Unfit for Orbit, which is a new weekly series that is the same creative team that did the last Gotham City Sirens.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then there's the continuing on stuff. So it is a Jed McKay Tuesday. We got a new issue of X-Men. Dave, did you read this?
Nope, haven't had time yet.
It's interesting. Nick and I both had kind of the same reaction to it. This is Doug Ramsey is now the heir to Apocalypse.
Yep.
And
weird.
he's got this woman who's like a warrior woman who's his wife.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, Doug Ramsey, one of the most infamously low-power X-Men, for the most part.
People
They've
who don't know,
changed
which
that.
is everyone.
Right. He could instantly knew all languages.
Yes, he could. So
And he was also a computer nerd.
Apocalypse juiced him, and now he can communicate in language, so he can basically hack brains.
Okay. I did figure that he was going to get an upgrade.
He got an upgrade.
And he has at times.
But he has a job. He is supposed to be Apocalypse's heir, the survival of the fittest guy, and he's kind of struggling with it.
He was a nerdy kid who dated Kitty for a minute in there.
It's an interesting. It is a completely different take on the character. I'm not sure I like it, but it is interesting.
It's been so long since because for a while he was dead, by the way.
Yeah,
it's true. What did kill him? Was it one of the Marauders?
No,
Legacy Virus?
No, it was the Animate. The guy that had the Animate. It was a dude wearing a fur and a skull who shot him with a pistol.
Really?
It was the dumbest death I'd ever seen. I was so angry I stopped reading New Mutants.
Hardcore.
Louise Simonson did it.
Yeah. I think that
and he's come back since then.
The intent at the time was to show this is a dangerous business.
He was the only New Mutants that
but it was kind of a cliche thing.
Crap.
Oh, what a shock! The guy who has the lowest power level, they killed him off.
Yep.
But anyway, that does sound interesting. I will give it a read.
So, by the
I'm
way,
not so beholden to his character, although he was pretty iconic for a short span there in the 80s.
That's the thing. I think we are maybe two or three of the 10 people in the room, any given room, that care about Doug Ramsey, aka Cypher. So changing him up makes sense. But for me, I was like, I don't know if I like this. I see that it does have his best buddy Warlock in there.
Pictured on the cover is his buddy Warlock.
So Dave is
that was like a defining thing too.
It is like it's almost like they're a throuple. He's got him and his wife and his buddy Warlock, and they are living in a mansion or something, and they are trying to figure out how to do the best version of Apocalypse's
I like
weird
his
thing.
wife. He married her during the Hickman X of Swords thing.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I know you shake your head. It's fine.
Yep.
Stuff I don't know.
Same.
Yeah, she's a cool character. She's basically like a warrior, can't be beat.
Anyway, McKay is doing a good job of picking up on stuff that I don't necessarily like, but he's doing interesting stuff with it.
Right. That is, a lot of times that is the job of the writers at like big superhero companies.
McKay also finished up his Masters of Evil story with the Avengers, where it's been, at first it was just Sam Wilson versus them trapped on their ship. Now it's Sam Wilson and Black Panther alone against the Mad Thinker, using armor that builds like the entire Masters of Evil into him.
Right. It's like super adaptoid armor. Yeah. So
it was very fun. It's a good story.
Yeah, the whole thing with the Mad Thinker is supposed to be that he's thinking like 10 steps ahead or 20 steps ahead.
Yep.
And they're like, Black Panther, they're like, surely you can outthink that. He's like, no, he's usually a few steps ahead of me. But he's like, we might not be able to outthink him, but we can outsmart him maybe or something like that. And it's interesting the tactics that they have to try and bring to bear.
McKay does some interesting writing. And again, he is not writing the Avengers that I want. Nobody's going to write the Avengers I want anymore. But it's close, and I do like it quite a bit.
Yeah, and I feel like he's not like... He's writing pretty good villains here, too. I like the bad guys in him.
All new Venom pits Venom against Dr. Octopus.
Yep.
And is also doing some more weird, interesting stuff with the symbiotes.
Yeah, it was interesting to have Dr. Octopus having some little mental difficulty and fallout from his superior Spider-Man days.
Yeah, there's a bit... He can't learn secret... If he learns Spider-Man's secret identity, it wipes his brain. So he's careful not to learn any secret identities because
he knows this is a thing that occurs,
which I think is great.
Reset.
It's also a very clever way to keep him from wanting to kick masks off.
Yeah.
There's always that question of like, why don't they just unmask them? Well, he doesn't want to because he might get his brain rebooted.
Yeah, and when you're like a super egotistical genius kind of guy like him,
you don't want
the worst idea is to like to have to reboot.
Yeah.
I like seeing the guardsmen again, used in this way.
Yeah, the guardsman armor is they're using it for the anti-symbiote task force. Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe one last time. I can't believe I'm reading a Deadpool series. But,
I think you're the only one reading it now.
It's Deadpool is like
Nick is like, that's enough Deadpool for me, but Randy's like, I need more.
Deadpool has been sent on a mission to kill evil multiversal duplicates to stop this big nasty universe-ending threat. In the course of this, he's grabbed a symbiote, Red Hulk, some other powers. This issue, he goes to an evil version of Thor. And he's like trying to get some godlike powers. So basically, he's gathering all this power to become the ultimate Deadpool to fight this cosmic threat, which will happen in the final.
That seems ridiculous and fun. I like the multiverse stuff.
It is kind of fun.
Like that.
Yep. Amazing Spider-Man number 7. The last page of the previous introduced what's his name? Hellgate.
Mm-hmm.
A new big villain, and this issue is Spidey throwing down with him. We still don't know exactly what he wants, but it reminds me a little bit, Dave. I know you love that issue of like the Juggernaut and Spider-Man. Just a little like that.
A little bit like that, yeah.
It's like this guy's a huge threat. Spidey don't really know what he wants or how to deal with him.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a fight throughout Manhattan.
Nice. JMS, Romita Jr. draws a fair number of these kind of things. JMS and Romita Jr. did the one with, was it Ezekiel?
Yes.
Who was like doing the full unstoppable mode.
Yeah. And Ezekiel was his ally, though. It was
the other guy then.
Moreland,
yeah. But I think that Juggernaut story has inspired generations of people to do Terminator-esque stories with Spider-Man of like, how is he going to stop this dude? That's cool.
Star Wars Jedi Knights number 5 features Yaddle.
Yes.
That's all you need to know.
Stop Yaddle time. Actually, you know what's interesting about this one, though, is it has Count Dooku in a sort of nuanced mode.
Before he fully fell, before they knew.
They're interacting with him, but there's like, there's some clues.
Well, it's interesting. He's an ex-Jedi, and the other Jedi is like, why did they let him keep the lightsaber?
Yeah.
There's some fun stuff,
He gets some special dispensation, clearly.
Yep. Well, when you're a Count Dooku.
Yeah. I'll remind you I'm a Count.
Absolute Green Lantern provides some more information about what exactly happened.
Yep.
Everybody in this book feels morally compromised. They've all done bad things. I don't know if I like it, but it's interesting. it keeps drawing me in. It's very dark, but it keeps drawing me in.
Yep, and here there's some other bits of Green Lantern lore that are being folded into the story in very, very different ways.
Turning into sort of sci-fi cosmic horror is interesting.
Yep.
Dave, I see you know today number 1, which I forgot we had, the Dune.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. We have many of this.
Not a lot, but it's called Dune: Edge of a Crysknife. The knives made from the teeth of sandworms in it.
Yep.
This specifically, this is like almost comically minor character.
Yeah.
The Shutout Mapes, the lady who was like the housekeeper when they arrive on Arrakis a few days before they get attacked by the Harkonnens. But this is like in her younger hot days.
Yeah. When
she's like a Fremen, and she's like a badass warrior and all this, and they're like, hey, we want you to go infiltrate Baron Harkonnen, his people that are running all these spice factories and stuff there.
Okay.
So you're going to go become the housekeeper. You're going to be our inside agent and spy, and so yeah, it's kind of elaborates on her character.
It's like a spy thing, and that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. The art is a little weird because it's almost a little like if you took like Umberto Ramos or something like that, a little bit more of a stylized artist, and put him on like a sort of the more serious Dune type story.
Interesting.
I don't like. It's a synergy that sometimes I think is kind of fun and sometimes is too weird.
Yeah.
But like, a completely like realistically drawn Dune story somehow seems almost too ponderous.
Yeah.
So it gives it a little bit of energy that is a little bit different from the norm.
And then that's Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong 2. Second issue of this finds them Kong. They're in the Upside Down, whatever this Hollow Earth. No, they're at Skull Island.
Right.
And Kong is fighting a giant-sized killer croc, and they're trying to figure out how do we talk to him without fighting him.
That's right. This is, I'm sure, because Amanda Waller, I know, was basically making her own kaiju.
Yep.
Which is a good premise.
Yeah. This is an interesting mix of DC and the MonsterVerse. It does it well. You guys have any other single issues?
I think you got it.
I did want to mention, I don't know if you were going to touch on this.
I got a lot of collections to talk about, yeah.
But there's some new little golden books hitting this week, and I only read one of them, the Clue one, which is very delightful. I was like, how does Clue get around the murder part of this?
Yep.
But they did in the way the same way I think I saw it in like the Scooby-Doo Clue game.
Right.
Which is to say, it's not a murder. There has been like something stolen from somebody, and this is like a kid who's invited to their cool. I can't remember if he's like her uncle or maybe her uncle's like famous dinner parties, and something gets stolen, and so the kid joins in on the adventure of the clue finding, and it kind of hits all the big iconic stuff. There's all the characters you would expect, but they're tweaked versions. Like the chef is Chef White, and she's like this kind of cool lady with like tattoos on her arms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But she's got like the white apron and like kind of like maybe dyed white hair.
Yeah.
So there's rethinks of those. Anyway, obviously it's just a kind of a cool way to like share this stuff with your kid. But they do a neat job of it. Like again, the kid there's clues that are very similar to the kind of clues you find in the game. There's secret passages in the house. It's a good one to get for a burgeoning mystery suspense kid.
There's a few little golden books this week, by the way. I guess before we get to it, I should mention there are some second printings or new printings. Absolute Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman #2 all get new printings. Assorted Crisis Events #1, Daredevil Cold Day in Hell #1. And Transformers #2, #3, and #18. So they are putting a lot of those out.
They'll get there one way or the other.
We got the DC Compact Edition of The Authority. This is the 12 issues that Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch did.
Right. So it's like pretty iconic late 90s, early 2000s comics.
Yeah. Basically superheroes who decide they're going to upend the status quo. They do big, epic... they overthrow an evil country. They fight an extra-dimensional invasion.
Yep. It was meant to be kind of a sort of R-rated, or at least edging towards an R rating, counterpoint to traditional superhero stuff, where, a lot of times Captain America will be like, well, yes, this country's acted evilly, but I can't just go and overthrow them. That's not what I believe in.
They're like, let's overthrow the
authority's
country.
like, absolutely, we will overthrow them. But it does portray consequences of their actions and, destabilizing elements.
It's probably the best art Brian Hitch ever did.
It's true. And also, like a lot of good, cool high concepts. It's where Midnighter and Apollo came from.
The engineer who is going to be in the Superman movie, which I believe is part of the reason it's getting reprinted.
Is it Jack Hawksmoor?
Jack Hawksmoor, the Living City,
and
basically.
Who's the fighty fight man who's like Batman but thinking any moves? Oh, that is Midnighter. That's right. But if you're looking for a little edge to your supers, if you liked Invincible, this is probably a good one to check out.
Sure.
I would say almost certainly was an influence on Invincible.
Oh, I would think so too, yeah. Detective Comics Mercy of the Father, trade and hardcover both come out this week. This is Tom Taylor's run with Mikkel Jenner on art.
Yeah. We were... I was generally liking this, but just kind of fell behind on it. I know you've read more of it.
I've kept up with it really... I was skeptical at first because I really liked his Nightwing, and I really wanted to do Batman instead.
Right.
But I've come around to really enjoying it. I think it's another good Tom Taylor project.
I did read the recent issue with the Penguin in it. That and it was really good.
Yeah. Bluey has a couple bilingual editions this week.
Yeah,
English
I think
and
the
Spanish.
we semi-frequently get requests for comics and stuff in Spanish. And unfortunately, our distributors just do not. It's not something that they really carry much. And Blue's not a comic, but it's great books for kids. And I'm excited to have some. It has both English and Spanish story stuff in it, and hopefully will be the first of many.
We have Cat Got Your Tongue, which is a book, a illustrated collection of cat-related proverbs and idioms collected from around the world.
Right. So, Cat Got Your Tongue is our weird American one, I assume, or maybe it's British.
But they have something like Portuguese has one who has no dog hunts with the cat.
I'm always saying that.
Or, may you turn into a blintz and be snatched by a cat. Or, tie the cat to the bacon.
Again, these are all ones I frequently use.
Every day you're talking about tying cat to bacon.
But get it for the cat lover or obscure trivia lover in your life.
Yep. Dr. Werthless, which is a bio of Dr. Wortham.
Frederick Wortham,
the scumbag who created the Comics Code, basically.
Yep. Basically a moral outrage scumbag. You can see him all around today.
Yeah.
Who created the Comics Code and ran
basically helped them kill EC Comics,
grandstanding Senate hearings where they tried to grill comics artists on the stand. It was like communist witch hunt level stuff.
Yep. Anyway, glad he's dead.
Calling him worthless is legit.
It is a good time to see the legacy of people like this.
Yeah. Eric Powell draws it, right? It's the same team who did, I think, the what happened to Eddie Gein or whatever, the sort of bio story about Ed Gein.
Yep.
Another strange but true rip from the pages of history.
EC Cruel Universe is the second EC Comics trade. It's the sci-fi one.
It's a very appropriate one to mention after Wortham because he specifically went after EC Comics.
EC's back. Wortham's dead.
He tried to take down the Crypt Keeper, but you know what? The Crypt Keeper doesn't stay down.
Yeah. We've got the Madman Omnibus Volume 1. This is kind of, the big collection trade of the
Mike Allred's
superhero.
Well-known cult character.
Yeah.
The character I've always kind of liked. Does he hang out in, is it Snap City?
I believe that's right. I think it's Snap City.
He's kind of...
There's a little bit of beatnik vibes to it.
There is. He's been drawing lately those DC projects for, what's his name,
Mark Russell.
Mark Russell. This was what put him on the map in the 90s, and he did some good stuff. Originally at some indie companies, and then at Dark Horse. I assume this is collecting some of that early material.
Yeah. The Lore Olympus Cookbook.
Yes.
Which I'm going to guess features a lot of Greek recipes, maybe?
I'm going to guess, but it's also like... This is like modern day, like... urban relationships stuff. Like they're like highly placed businessmen and power brokers. I feel like it's going to be a bunch of cocktails, but I haven't looked at it yet.
I haven't either.
But I wouldn't. It just doesn't feel quite like this is a comfort food one. Here's some lasagna or anything like that. I feel like it's going to be all Manhattans and stuff.
Because Old Guard 2 comes out Friday.
No,
tomorrow.
Oh,
so
okay.
July 2nd, tomorrow.
Oh, wow, okay.
On Netflix. They are putting out the Old Guard comics in nice deluxe hardcovers. So the first one, called the Immortal Editions. The first one comes out tomorrow. Holds as the first two series, I believe.
These are good series.
They are.
I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the movie. I'm seeing Uma Thurman kick some butt.
No. Is
She's the big bad.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
cool.
Pretty cool choice.
Charlize Theron is the lead, and she's great. Sam and Twitch Compendium. This is a big collection. I think the Bendis stuff that Twitch, and other people as well, but the Bendis originated it. Superman's Good Guy Gang, which is a all ages Superman that features Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl. It is definitely
that's cool.
Sort of leading into the movie, yeah. And then Tusk Love, which is a novel from the Critical Role world about like someone falling in love with an orc or something, right?
The story that I was told and have no reason to disbelieve was that there was a Critical Role episode where somebody just had like some trashy romance novel that they found, or it was a clue, and he just like Matt Mercer quipped it's called Tusk Love. And then they got an actual like what do they call it,
romantasy author,
fantasy romance author to write the actual story from within the story.
Yep. And that's all I've got. Let's take a break, and then we're going to talk about some trailers and some news. All right, so we've got a few trailers to talk about. Kind of notable trailers, actually.
And
a little bit of news.
I was going to say, I don't think there's a clunker trailer.
No. I mean,
it's rare.
The only clunker is that Eyes of Wakanda is a teaser.
It's a teaser.
So there's not much to it.
Right. Remember like a few weeks ago, we were like, we watched
every one of these
4
trailers
terrible
sucked.
trailers,
Yes.
and we're like, let's just go in increasing order of badness or something like that. Well, these are all pretty good.
These are all good.
Yeah.
These are all things I've been looking forward to as well.
Yeah.
So let's start with Project Hail Mary. This is the novel. It's the third novel by Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian.
Yep. When we were talking about our top 10 movies of the current century, I think you and I both said The Martian's
in my top 10 for sure.
I'm like, every time we've got that on at the store or I chance across it, I watch it, and I really like almost every scene in it.
It's a very watchable movie, a great adaptation of a great novel. Like, it is rare to get a novel that's good and a movie that's that good.
Ridley Scott did an amazing job.
He did. It's the best thing he's made in a long, long time.
I agree.
Super good cast, too.
Yeah.
Just through the roof good cast.
Half the Marvel Universe is in that movie.
It's true.
It is.
And Jeff Daniels.
Yeah. He'll be in there.
He'll be in the Marvel scene, yeah.
At some point.
He played Elder of the Universe.
Yeah.
Project Hail Mary is the third novel. I had not read Project Artemis.
Artemis is good.
I really like Artemis.
I need to read that.
I feel like it's going to be up your alley, Randy.
I'm honestly shocked it's not already been greenlit or made into a film of some sort.
But I have read Project Hail Mary. I listened to the audiobook when we were taking my kid to Boston after they graduated high school. And I loved it. We both loved it.
It's very cool, and the trailer. We'll talk about it. It reveals one of the sort of big twists in it. But this it has elements of The Martian. It is a science heavy survival kind of story.
Lone man in space.
But there is but even that, when you begin the book, you don't even know that.
No.
He's just a guy in a weird room with some lights and stuff going on.
It's true.
It's got gravity, so he's like, well, I'm not in... He doesn't think he's in space, but then he starts to science it, and he's like, oh, shit, maybe I am in space.
Because he's dealing with, like
the force of when there's a rocket and compelling you, you've got that force, the gravitational force pulls you down. And so, if done right, you would still feel you would feel gravity.
But his memory is
screwed up.
His memory is screwed up for reasons that you'll learn.
That are revealed. But
and
this is the thing about doing the movie. Was one of the things I worried this was unfilmable.
Yeah,
because a lot of the first half of the book
pretty solo
is him figuring out not that figuring out who he is.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a totally a novelistic approach of we only get his viewpoint. We don't see anything else.
Trailer, we know who he is.
We know who he is, and they make that work.
Yeah,
right.
This is directed by
Lord Miller, who have not done a bad movie. In fact, I don't think they've done any less than great movie.
Name their big movies. Lego movie.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, Spider-Verse.
Right. Those are the big ones.
There's other ones as well, but I don't think they've done any movie that's less than great.
I will also say that I think it's a quiet thing, but Drew Goddard writing it.
Drew Goddard is
an amazing writer.
What is Drew Goddard?
He did
Cabin of the
Woods.
That's the main thing I do.
Yep.
But he also worked on Daredevil, a bunch of random television.
So Lord Miller also did 21 Jump Street and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Yep.
Okay.
Both really good.
So without diving too much into the story, this is cool. I do think I think we would all recommend people read the book.
Yes, read the book.
And it's a great time. But there is a there is a possible world-ending threat sort of thing that it's a science-related thing. It's not quite the usual like environmental destruction, but it is a kind of thing like that. But it has to do. It's something that connects multiple solar systems and requires a Hail Mary mission. And it's one of these things where it's like, oh man, that's like doesn't even seem like that technology is even feasible, even if we project a little ways into the future. But there's a reason for it in this story, and it's pretty cool and pretty unusual for how they're able to pull this off. But there's also some like somewhat disturbing things like about what it took to make it work.
And our main character is played by Ryan Gosling, who I think is perfect casting.
Yeah, he's going to be a good fit for it.
It looks like he's doing his like Man of the People kind of like.
We do know that like he's like a sweater wearing teacher.
He's like a middle school teacher. Yeah, he's like the kid's favorite teacher, basically.
Right.
And from there,
he's a charming guy.
From there, he becomes humanity's only hope.
Right.
And he wants no part of it.
And the woman playing kind of the military counterpart is Sandra Hüller,
she's like the ops manager of the project.
Wait, who is that? I don't know that actress.
She's been in 2 very notable films. They're kind of indie. She was in Zone of Interest.
Oh, okay.
The kind of Nazi.
Very serious.
Very serious. She was also...
Was she the wife?
She was the wife.
Oh, man.
She was also in Anatomy of a Fall. She was the lead
this is somebody who can act for real.
She is an amazing actress.
Yeah, the character she's playing has what I would call somewhat unprecedented control over the project on a global level because the threat is so severe. And but what's funny is like, as dark as it is, there's lots of humor throughout it.
Well, I mean, that's Andy Weir. He kind of brings the humor to stuff.
His characters tend to be kind of smartasses, and
know-it-alls.
So you get these scripts that are have a little bit of Sorkin smartassery in them too. And then there's just a few big twists. But The Martian showed me that you could take a book that had some pretty hard science, like it was based around hard science, and you can't explain as much in a movie as you can in a book, but you can give enough to get the gist of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to all those ways that will be explained.
And then the very end of this trailer is exciting, and kind of wish they hadn't spoiled it, but
they kind of had to.
But they kind of
Dave's right. They kind of had to.
Right. It otherwise kind of looks a little bit like, oh, this is just some save the world mission, like or either save the person mission like The Martian, or save the world mission like Armageddon. And like, what would be different about this? Well, they show you what's different about this.
It's a really good trailer.
But I think might have ultimately been the right choice. I mean, obviously we'll see what box office and all that is like.
But I think what all three of us would say is go see it and don't watch the trailer, and read the book if you want to.
Yeah.
But you're going to enjoy. I think read the book first if you can.
I can guarantee you're not going to not see this trailer.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be attached to Superman. It's going to be attached to a couple of other things.
That's true.
If you can knock that book out real quick, I recommend it.
Right. It's real short. It's only like 400 pages.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it, though. I think it is a worthy endeavor.
It is a longer book. But
Andy Weir is a fairly readable writer.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
It's not too much of a slog.
Yeah. And then there was a trailer for The Running Man. This is a new adaptation of the Richard Bachman, a.k.a. Stephen King book.
Yep.
There was one in the 80s.
The original one with Schwarzenegger was like 87 or something
Paul
like
Verhoeven,
that.
I think?
No, Verhoeven did...
you're right.
He did Total Recall.
Yeah.
I actually don't know who directed it.
I don't know who directed Running Man either.
But it is basically the best of the schlock.
Right. It is a great schlock Schwarzenegger movie. They did, there was like they did a follow-up to Total Recall, and because of that and like the RoboCop remake that they did in the 2000s, you could be forgiven for seeing that they're going to remake this and be like, oh God, please no.
It was directed, for the record, by Paul Michael Glazer, a.k.a. Starsky.
Oh,
what?
Of Starsky and Hutch.
Really?
Yep.
That's crazy.
That's a well-directed movie.
For real. It is.
It's really good at what it does.
Well, he also directed the movie... I think he might have directed Fiddler on the Roof. He's directed 20 movies.
Oh, okay.
Jeez.
Yeah, and then a bunch of TV after that.
This basically does not look like anything from the Schwarzenegger movie.
No, it's a completely...
Basically,
there's just enough elements. Like, there is still a show called The Running Man that's
true.
Entertainment for the masses in a dystopian future. But it has a sort of a different hook and a totally different energy because Edgar Wright made this movie. So
it's also bigger.
Edgar Wright, Shaun of the Dead,
Scott Pilgrim, Baby Driver,
yeah. And basically, if you are on this show, unlike the other one where you kind of entered a labyrinthine arena of death traps, of gladiator stuff. Instead, the whole world is hunting you.
Just America.
Well, okay, yeah.
You have to survive in the open for 30 days.
But people on the streets could turn you in
because they'll get money for killing you, right?
Right. I think the thing I read, at least in the book, I didn't quite catch in the trailer if this is a thing. There are killers after you that are trained killers.
Yeah. There are,
but the person the man on the street is, I think. I was under the impression they were only supposed to report you, but there's clearly people shooting at him in this. Yeah, so he's wearing disguises and stuff. It's a very different vibe than what Arnold did.
Yeah, there were definitely military assassins coming after him.
Right. But there is still a high pop energy to this. It actually looks like it's going to be dark but fun.
I think
Glenn Powell is the lead. He looks great. Timothy Olyphant is the TV executive who talks him into it, basically.
It's not Timothy Olyphant.
Was it Timothy Olyphant?
It was No Country for Old Men cable.
Oh, yes, Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin?
That's Josh Brolin.
Oh, man, I thought it was Timothy Olyphant.
No.
Okay.
There's
Josh
a similarity.
Timothy Olyphant's been busy doing Alien.
Oh, right. Okay. And then we're pretty sure we spotted Mr. Milchick from...
I believe he's the host.
Severed.
He's Killian.
He is Killian.
Yeah, the role previously played by Richard Dawson.
He's got the energy for it.
He does.
So much so.
He does. You know that guy who pulled off those dance sequences in Severance can do that?
Yep. It's a great trailer, and I've been excited.
It's super fun.
I have liked everything Edgar Wright's done. I think every movie he's done. Even
did you watch his last movie?
Last Night in Soho?
It was great.
Yeah, I didn't think it was great.
Oh, really? Oh, man, I did enjoy that.
But I enjoyed it. I
need to check that one out at some point.
But anyway, I'm looking forward to this. Looks very different.
There's a bit in there. This sounds like, because I know some of the not weird, but specific profanity and weird phrases that Stephen King uses. There's a bit where he's on a monitor and he's clearly survived a lot.
Yeah,
and he says I'm still alive, shit eaters, or something, and he's giving the finger to the
camera. That's while he's in the sewer.
That's definitely a Stephen King.
That feels so Stephen King.
Very Stephen King. Yeah.
But it looks like a blast.
And then we got a little teaser for Eyes of Wakanda, the animated series about the history of Wakanda. Just a little just not much. Just so you can see the style of it.
So I actually don't know. There was clearly stuff that had their high tech elements, so that wouldn't be that far back. But I don't know when that's supposed to have emerged.
I think they've had tech since for a long time.
I mean, is this one of those that's supposed to have been for hundreds of years?
I think
or just for decades?
I think they've supposed to have been technically advanced for a long time.
Okay,
longer than.
But you could be technically advanced and be using I don't know, steam tech or something in 19 or
Well, they've had the vibranium.
Yeah, vibranium is energy tech.
Right.
Yeah.
But it had a very cool design, much like What If.
Yeah,
it looks really good.
Yep.
Had that sort of beautiful futurism and kind of a cool dark. I want to say not noirish, but a little bit of that cool Blade Runner-ish kind of look.
Yeah.
To some of the cityscapes and of it and everything.
It looks really cool.
Yeah,
I'm excited for it. So this is a bit of news that we got. Stephen King's The Stand. Yeah. That Doug Lamont is going to direct that for Paramount. They've done The Stand as a TV miniseries twice, at least.
They did
kind of recently, right?
Yeah, not too long ago.
CBS did one, and it was okay.
Yeah, I couldn't quite get
3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, I have a friend, my friend Fathery, who my co-podcaster, watched it, and he quite liked it. And I can't be oh, I heard it wasn't so good, because I watched the 90s version before I read the book, and it's a no matter what, it's kind of it's a good story with lots of memorable characters, and I really liked at the time that 90s one, which I feel like his It from the 90s miniseries has aged decently.
Yeah.
I don't think The Stand aged as well, but I had Rob Lowe and Molly Ringwald and some other really great casting. Yeah. Jerry Sinise.
I don't know how you turn this into a movie.
Yeah, it's a sprawl.
It's a sprawl.
Right.
But apparently the sources say Lamont and the studio have a particular take, and the feature would be a one-off, not a multi-movie endeavor.
Okay.
I think the most interesting thing to note about this is Doug Lamont's a good director. He did Edge of Tomorrow, which is really good.
You said Lamont. Is that how you pronounce it? I thought it was Doug Liman.
I thought it was Lamont.
Okay.
Is it Lyman?
I don't know.
It's Laman.
Yeah. I was like...
Anyway, he did The Born 1988, Go, Swingers, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the Roadhouse remake.
Yep.
But they noted this article that Stephen King, this year has been really a lot of adaptations for him.
Right.
Because in addition to this, we had The Monkey, Life of Chuck, The Long Walk, and The Running Man.
And
That's
just
a lot.
Yeah.
Just like a year or two back was what was that thing with like the HBO miniseries about the murdered kid?
Yeah.
That was him too.
That's right. The Outsider?
The Outsider, yeah.
That was like 5 years ago.
All right, whatever. But like,
I'm just saying time has no meaning.
he's a guy who, I don't know. Is there like a movie from him every year? Sometimes it's a cult movie. Sometimes it's a big movie.
I think for sure.
Well,
yeah.
if what's his name has anything to do with
Mike
it.
Flanagan
If
will
Mike
make
Flanagan
sure.
there was
has
also
anything-
Gerald's Game,
Yeah,
and yeah,
Mike Flanagan will make sure there's this thing
Yep.
of the year.
Even when he's not adapting Stephen King, his stories have had Stephen King elements, especially Midnight Mass.
He is the Stephen King of the movie and TV world.
And in a legit way, he's also his own person, but he, in addition to adapting stuff, he does Stephen King ideas in a really good way.
Yeah. There is Denis Villeneuve. Is that right? Did I get that?
You did get that
All
right. Yes.
We'll think about it.
Is set to direct the next James Bond film for Amazon MGM
Yeah.
Studios.
It's a bit of an unusual choice because he's kind of a more cerebral director.
It's going to be sad and depressing.
I'm afraid it probably is,
Yeah.
although I think...
Or maybe
I don't
he wants to
think he
stretch
gets.
his wings.
I don't think he gets hired for this without changing that. But I just watched a video from a YouTube essayist on sci-fi that I really like. And he's a little hard. He's a pretty dedicated sci-fi guy who, for instance, doesn't like most modern Star Trek. Feels like it's kind of just become a corporate product. But he has interesting thoughts on like lots of oh my god, the Blade Runner guy, Philip K. Dick, and other sci-fi authors. And he tries to puzzle through in this little 15-minute video what his approach is going to be, because he's very subversive and critical of, say, like the drug war in Sicario. Like, it's presented as this kind of very engaging and dark drama with lots of extra legal stuff, but it's like, it's not a pretty picture.
No, nothing he does is...
It's funny because the other story that's been going around Bond is the Matthew Good, the guy who I think is kind of a bland actor.
Oh, he's not. He's good.
Is he good?
He's very good.
Okay.
He's literally good.
He was in the Watchmen movie and he was not good in that.
Who was he?
Oh, I thought he was fun. He was...
He was Vite.
Oh, okay. He's being considered for it?
No. He auditioned for Casino Royale, and he's been telling the story. He's like, I didn't audition. I went and I met Barbara Broccoli, and she was like, "What's your idea for Bond?" He said, "My idea is we got to give it back to the books. We had to make him an alcoholic, a drug addict. He hates himself. He hates women. He hates a lot of people. He's in deep pain. He's brilliant at killing people." And he says, "I think by the end of the interview, she was like, next." He's like, I want to make it dark, but I should have said, "Oh, but he's incredibly charming."
Right.
I'm like, this sounds like Villeneuve maybe making his Bond.
Right, like, I feel like he's going to have to be, like, do some sort of sly subversion where he might be like, oh, yeah, okay, the first time I watched...
Casino Royale?
No, the other movie from... God, who made Nosferatu?
Eggers.
Was his Viking movie...
Yes,
Yeah,
Northman.
The Northman. I kind of took it at face value, and I was like, well, this is just a kind of a guy who's obsessed with getting vengeance, and over the course of the thing he does it, and he hopes to go to Valhalla, and in the end you see him going to Valhalla, and like all these things happen, and I was just like, well, it was just kind of a bro-ish art house movie.
Yeah.
But then I rewatched it, and I was like, oh wait, there's actually a lot of scenes in here of him just casually walking past while the other raiders he's working with, like, burn a village. And you hear... The camera even stops at a door and that's now burning, and you hear people screaming inside. I'm like, oh, they show these atrocities. They show possibilities he had to have a normal life and raise like a kid, and shows instead vengeance. And you don't even know if, like, the images of Valhalla are kind of real or just, a zealot's kind of vision. And I was like... This movie actually was subversive, and I was too dumb for it on the first viewing. That's what I think you need to do with Bond here, maybe.
Now what you're going to tell me is you're going to go back and rewatch The Witch and be like, oh, this is actually really good.
I might. Listen,
he's
Eggers is not always a win-win for me,
he's
but
an
like,
amazing director.
But I could not... I have to give him his due. It was not just a straightforward... Aren't these macho stories of Vikings great? There was more to it than that, but that is the hook of it. So if they bait it with espionage is great, overthrowing other countries with a colonialist twist is great.
Well, we know that Villeneuve can do action. I mean, Sicario showed you...
There is a sequence in there, and it's the border checkpoint one, that is one of the most tense sequences I've ever seen in, like, my life.
Yeah, it's insane.
And I had mixed feelings about that. I have mixed feelings about Dune. He is not my favorite director. I was like, on one level, I was like, well, I kind of want a fun Bond again of some stripe. But I was the sci-fi author or the YouTuber that I was watching said that, you know, the what do they call it? The ISB, the Intelligence Bureau for the Empire in Andor, was a pretty gritty portrayal of what would actually be like a sort of colonialist, espionage, British espionage. He's like, it doesn't feel like after that you can kind of go back to, well, isn't it all just fun and games, super spies and super villains and all that stuff?
What if it was Villeneuve directing and Tony Gilroy writing?
Oh, God.
That sounds too dark.
Here's the thing. I think I'm not the world's biggest Bond fan, so ultimately I don't care what happens.
Sort of the same here.
But
I have a lot of fun memories.
I feel like the Casino Royale era, the what's his name, Daniel Craig era, was kind of dark. I mean, it was co-made by the Broccoli, so it was never going to be fully dark. They still had their action sequences and stuff, but it was a darker take.
But the directors were able to kind of subvert things, because you look back at some of those stories and you're like, oh, that was about water rights? That's crazy and dark and kind of...
what I'm saying is, I feel like they did the dark Bond for the last, 15 years.
It's true.
I think it's time to go back to that pop fun, and they're not going to do that.
But here's the thing, is do we really want a pop fun version that's like an ultra nationalist British?
No, I want it to be a period piece. I think Bond is one of those movies at this point that works as a period piece. I think that would have been the direction to go.
Even then, all of so much of the sort of stuff was propaganda essentially, and I'm just I don't know if I can go back to that.
Yeah,
and I don't think Denis Villeneuve would want to make that. His Dune stuff, especially I think when we get to the third movie, are going to reveal that Paul gets kind of caught up in the tide of his, Messiah.
I mean, Paul's
power.
A villain at this point.
but I think probably you could get through both of those movies and I think not think of him that way.
I don't know. At the end of the last one,
it's only in the last minute or two.
I know, but
I think I suspect most people when 99% of the movie is he's the chosen one hero. I think it doesn't weigh on them.
His mom's a villain in that.
She kind of is, yeah. And the Atreides family are not so noble as they pretend.
Yep.
But I don't think we're really going to see it until the third movie
looking at all those little nuances, though, I think he could make an interesting Bond.
Yeah.
That I don't think is going to be the rah-rah
no, I think there's
MI6.
Zero chance he does that.
Yeah, you're right.
Which I think is good.
I guess... I'm not sure I have an interest in seeing that explored, but maybe I just don't want a James Bond movie anymore. That may be where I'm at.
I mean, I think we all like the idea, I'm trying to think of, when they've pulled off things that are nostalgic but good. Every once in a while, something like that happens. I'm blanking on it right now. But I feel I've seen pop action adventure movies that I like.
Mission Impossible kind of does what I want it to do.
Sure. But, those are, arguably... fairly brainless movies. Just big set pieces for crews with some engaging bits of dialogue and some big stunts.
This one will probably not be brainless.
No. So anyway, I'll be curious. I will be interested to hear more about this as it goes along.
I'm a little sad that Amazon has the rights, but whatever.
I feel like, honestly, I'll give this to Denis. I think his integrity is somewhat beyond questioning. I don't think he does cheesy pop stuff, and he's not going to just do the bidding of Bezos.
That's true.
In fact, he could do how Tony Gilroy with Andor made a very very archly subversive thing through Disney. I think it's going to be like that.
Yeah, maybe so.
I just don't know. I can't quite picture what it could look like. Weirdly, Star Wars is almost easier to picture being serious because it at least has always had anti-fascist roots for some reason than Bond being critical of the institution that he works for.
Yeah.
You can go dark and be Bond's girl got killed. But that's not really dark in a deep way.
Fair.
And I think Denis is probably going to want to do that in a dark and a deep way. So we'll see.
And then I think we've got some other stuff to talk about, but because we're running out of time, It's probably time we should mention that Jim Shooter died.
Yeah. Right.
Age 73. Jim Shooter, I think, was formative for all three of us.
Yep, and let's just real quick say he was the editor-in-chief of Marvel for, like the longest run after Stan Lee.
Right.
I heard it was, I don't know if it was
only like 10 years. It was not that long.
I couldn't remember if it had hit 15, but
So, Jim Shooter is pretty notable for a couple things. One is he was the youngest guy ever to write Legion of Superheroes, or maybe comics.
Right.
He wrote Legion of Superheroes at age 14 because Mort Weisinger hired him, not knowing there was a 14-year-old kid who pitched him.
He sent in a drawn comic, and that he didn't know. He was not like a great artist, but he did it. And I remember hearing this wildly. There are 4 characters that he created in there, so it almost has that feeling of fan wank.
Yep.
But Mort Weisinger at DC bought the comic, and then had some of the iconic artists of the era, like Kurt Swan, draw it, and he said use this guy's thumbnails, or use his art as your storyboards for it. And all of those characters survived. They've all become well-known characters in Legion lore, like Karate Kid and stuff like that. Princess Projectra. And then he went on to various stages of editorship.
So in 1975, he was hired away from DC by Marv Wolfman, then editor-in-chief, to become an assistant editor at Marvel, working alongside Len Wein, Jerry Conway, Archie Goodwin, all legends.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was, in 1978, 2 years later, he succeeded Archie Goodwin to become the new editor-in-chief. And he was the guy whose 9-year tenure oversaw Chris Claremont and John Byrne's Uncanny X-Men, Byrne's Fantasy Four, Frank Miller's Daredevil, Walt Simonson's Thor, Roger Stern on Avengers: Amazing Spider-Man. Arguably, and if you want to argue with me, you're wrong, the strongest period Marvel's ever had.
Yes.
What I would say is if you think about Marvel as the Star Wars movies, the 60s was like Star Wars, the pop, and even Star Wars was subversive, by the way, for its time a little bit in the way it showed spaceships that were kind of dirty and rusty, and people who were tarnished spacefarers and not bold astronauts and stuff like that. And that era in the 80s that he presided over was The Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
Sort of the writing took a notch up.
Yep.
The artistry of the artists came through. He presided over some of the best writer-artist runs, Byrne writing and drawing FF, Frank Miller writing and drawing Daredevil, Walt Simonson writing and drawing Thor.
Yep.
And he is known to be controversial because he had very strict ideas about storytelling and was not shy about it.
He also wanted strict adherence to deadlines, which artists are not fans of.
That's true.
But before we get too into that,
I don't think writers are big fans of it either.
No, they don't love it either. In 1981, he brought Dazzler #1 and basically created the direct market. It was sold only in direct. So Shooter helped create the direct market.
Right, the direct market being comic shops.
Yep. He launched the new universe, which was not successful, but it was an interesting premise.
Right, and periodically shows up now in Star Brand and other characters that will resurface.
But some of the creators he pissed off were guys like John Byrne, Steve Gerber, Marv Wolfman, who hired him, which is kind of funny, Doug Mensch, Gene Colan, and I will say, I don't know any of these guys, but I think all of them were a little prickly, especially John Byrne.
Right. I think they're all people known to have egos and have their own way of doing things, and he was a little bit of a kind of my way or the highway thing.
And here's my thing. I understand where people come down, but when you're working for Marvel, I do think to some extent the editor-in-chief should have a vision. I think that is what I think has been a problem for decades now, is that they don't have a vision. They do let a creator come in and run wild, and that sometimes you get something good out of that, like Hickman's X-Men. While I'm not a fan, it definitely was a big shift change.
Right.
But there's not a lot of top down from Marvel where here is our direction.
Right.
And I think if you look at Marvel cinema, you look at Kevin Feige, anyone has a problem Edgar Wright famously could not work within Kevin Feige's style.
Right.
That didn't make Kevin Feige the bad guy or Edgar Wright the bad guy. It meant they were a bad fit. Yeah. And I think more often than not, that was what was going on with Jim Shooter, because I met Jim Shooter.
Yeah.
I talked to him at San Diego Comic-Con a few years ago and spent an hour talking to the dude in the bar, and he was charming and smart and funny and did not strike me as a control freak. I think probably this was a clash of cultures more than anything else.
Right.
And
you weren't working under it.
I wasn't working under it. He may have been a terrible boss. But there are also people, Kurt Busiek talked about this because Kurt Busiek actually worked for him. Yeah. And he posted about, basically, he's like, yeah, I remember Shooter was the guy who fired me off Power Man and Iron Fist. Or maybe he wasn't. He's like, I don't know that Denny O'Neil didn't throw him under the bus.
Right. He said that, and he specifically mentioned, I read that anecdote too, that Denny O'Neil was actually known for sometimes, blaming something that he had to do on somebody else. He was like a non-confrontational guy or whatever. Yep. And so I think Shooter's kind of big personality and prickly nature made him a target. Certainly, a lot of the people like Walt Simonson I saw posting a anecdote about him too. Like there tend to be a fair number of friendly anecdotes or we clashed, but I had respect for him. That kind of stuff. It was Walt Simonson said that somebody else overheard him talking about Simonson through like a wall, basically. Yeah. And he said that he loved something Shooter said about him. Simonson's name came up and Shooter said something like Simonson. He's like, there's another gun, big gun that can't be aimed. And he's like, I love it. He's like, I want that on my tombstone.
Well, and also, I guess, looking at the sort of Wikipedia listing, I guess a lot of the creators are like, basically, he got them treated with more respect. He got them got them paid for conventions. Right. He sort of got built up royalties in comparison to what DC was doing. Mm-hmm. But also, there's some argument that he was homophobic. The way he and John Byrne clashed over North Star's sexuality. Right. That he wrote a story where two gay men attempted to rape Bruce Banner.
I remember this is
there's definitely some ugliness, and then maybe after he wrote Secret Wars, his ego maybe took a little control, and he started thinking of himself as not just the editor-in-chief but also the head writer, and I think that's probably not great.
I will also say, he did create the crossover. He did. Secret Wars is an amazing
for better or worse.
For better or worse.
Well, and then during the 90s, he went and created Valiant Comics, which spurred the idea. I think
you could build another universe that could at least go, if not fully toe-to-toe, but could exist in the same world as Marvel and DC.
I think without Valiant Comics, there's New Image Comics.
Probably not.
I don't think anybody would try that because DC and Marvel had such a lock on the direct market.
It's true.
I don't think without that model, which was not creator owned, it was just in our Marvel or DC, but certainly there have been no cross-gen.
Right.
Not that really mattered in the scheme of things. But
did you guys pick up a lot that
Valiant?
Valiant.
Yeah, I was working at a comic shop at that time.
I was not. I kind of missed the initial excitement for it, or I heard about it, but I was a little too late. And before the trade paperback era arose, I was like, I can't afford these old issues of Archer and Armstrong or whatever.
I remember picking up a lot of Magnus. I enjoyed that.
I got stray issues, and when they would do like the umpteenth printings or whatever. But, some of my very first comics were written by Shooter. There was with a few, not I don't know if they were like literally the first, but the first one I can remember, I believe he wrote this, Randy, was that Avengers with the Weathermen in it. Yeah. Gene Colan was drawing it.
That's right.
And then I kind of stayed on Avengers, and so he, in a lot of ways, introduced me to the Marvel Universe. Because I also read stray issues of Dazzler, and that was him as well. And I can look back on some of those stories, and I'm like, I feel like there's definite some elements of like little bits of misogyny. Yeah. But at the same time, he was somewhat progressive in ways because like Tigra was showing up in those and was being elevated a bit, but sometimes in sort of sexist ways. A mixed batch, but like. The highlight reel that you mentioned of like this stuff that he presided over, untouchable. Yeah, like those are some of my very favorite comics of the era, and the comics I feel like I was lucky enough to have come in on. So, complications aside, and I will be curious to hear as more people talk about him, probably good and bad. Yeah, to see how it comes. But I think he's, he left a pretty amazing legacy
for sure. All right. Let's go ahead and close it out there. We'll talk about some other stuff next week, like Ironheart, for sure. We'll get to it at some point. Right. I think we all generally liked it.
Yeah, that'll give me a chance to finish watching it, but I thought it was got off to a great start.
Today releases the last 3 episodes, so...
They're burning it off in 3-episode chunks, yeah.
Yip. So 6 episode season?
Yep.
Okay. There we go. But yes, we would all recommend that you watch it. Yep. It was more. It had a little bit more edge than I thought, and I thought the scripting was notably above average.
Yep. But we'll talk about it next week.
Yep.
Until next time.
Yo, Joe.
Roguecast is a weekly podcast broadcast from Rogues Gallery Comics and Games in Round Rock, Texas. You can find us online on Facebook and at www.roguesgallerytx.com and email us comments or questions at roguesgallerytx@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.